Good evening. Welcome to another episode of the DMV Daily Radio Show. I'm your host, Hassan Giordano, a.k.a. Mr. Politics, back in the building. Just lost a couple $100 at the casino, speaking of casino last night. So, but I'm always in a good mood because that's my stress reliever. When I get to count the chips on the table, even if I lose the chips, it's always good to go. But today, speaking of getting chips and putting chips on the table, last night he got a lot of chips at this fundraiser that I heard of. We're joined by a leading candidate for the City Council in the 14th Council Matter District here in the city of Baltimore as a part of our continuing coverage of Election 2020. But before we get into that program, as always, got to let you know, this program is brought to you by fine sponsors such as that stellar legal team known as Bates & Garcia Law Firm, specializing in criminal defense, real estate, and bodily injury cases. Bates & Garcia is Maryland's legal dream team, so make sure you contact them today for your free consultation. 410-814-4600 is the number. Tell them DMV Daily referred you. They'll give you a special homeboy discount. That means if you get locked up, got to go to court, call Bates & Garcia. If the police approach you, just say lawyer and then call Bates & Garcia. If you get in a car accident, call Bates & Garcia. If you slip and fall in the casino, you better call Bates & Garcia. I know if I do, I'm definitely calling him.
If Kahan Dillon says you assaulted him, call Bates & Garcia.
Pretty much. And this show is also brought to you by those savvy political strategists at Politicom Strategic Solution who have mastered the art of political communications, successfully gotten people elected to office since the 1970s. You can't call them if you need a lawsuit, though. You got to call them if you're ready to run for office like the guy we got in the building today. You need your campaign website set up, integrated social media campaign plan to ensure success. You want to raise some money? Call them. They can reach at 240-242-7505 or on the web at politicomsolutions.com. Again, 240-242-7505 is the number. And you can see their smooth banner at the bottom. I love that. It's smooth right at the bottom of the screen. Now, DMV Daily is also looking to produce live stream radio programs and podcasts, just like the DMV Daily Radio Show, or the recently produced Annapolis Report, or the one we got coming up, Law and Disorder with Ivan Bates. Or, if Mark ever gets his stuff together, the Political Pawn, that was actually started way before, or created before all the other ones. We still ain't got there yet.
We're supposed to do it together, though, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm always in the studio. I don't know where you be at. But the Political Pawn with Mark and Hassan is another one that we're going to start. And, of course, Value My Vote 2020. The elections are upon us, so you definitely want to go ahead and check that out. Stay in tune for it. Of course, we're going to continue coverage on those elections and with the candidates right here on DMV Daily Radio Show. We just got finished wrapping up the first two episodes of Law and Disorder, so you'll be able to hear them every other Tuesday on DMVDaily.news. But, again, we can produce yours as well. If you already have a podcast, if you want a podcast, give us a call. Most people, I'm telling you, I run into, they think it's a high rate. Oh, man, I ain't got a couple $100. I'm like, I don't know what y'all talking about. Our services are less than any bill you got in your household, to be quite honest. Your cable bill is more than what we charge you a month to do a weekly podcast. So that shows you it's very affordable. It's not as much as you may think it is. And we have advertisement opportunities as well. Give us a call, 443-294-3900 is the number, or email us over at info@dmvdaily.news. Or you can just go to the website and sign up. We also need citizen journalists. We got some new ones that just came on board. Wrote a couple new op-eds that are on the website this week. Make sure you go check those out as well. And take advantage of our Black History Month advertisement and podcast production rate promotion that's going on between today and February 28th. So between now and the end of February, you get our Black History. Unfortunately, we don't see enough Black History promotions that goes on. It's always President Day sales. Well, goddamn it, the president ain't never did nothing, but we need Black History sales, so that we got to be able to offer that at some point, especially for minority-owned businesses. And that doesn't mean just black people. We know the inclusion of minority now, so, that's for everybody. And if you're a federal worker, we definitely going to look out for you, even though y'all about to go back to work.
Yes,
I just found out after leaving the casino that Trump must have lost some money at the casino too. He took it, but I think he said, 3 weeks?
Yeah, only February 15th.
they're going to shut right back down. Mm-hmm. Watch what I tell you. This man is a buffoon. We will get into that right now. Anyway, if you haven't listened to any of the podcasts or the shows, or if you missed one of the shows, of course, you can always hear this show 24/7, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Just go to the website, click the button up top. You can hear the audio. You can always go back to the video portion, whether it's on Facebook, YouTube, or on the website, or Periscope as well, to watch any of the shows. Like last night, we was on fire last night. You bet to go back and listen to that one if you haven't heard it. Of course, the Annapolis Report is brought to you every Monday. It's released throughout the 90-day legislative session, which doesn't end until April. So you go check that out, and then you can also hear snippets of that report every Tuesday morning from 7:15 to 7:30 a.m. on the Larry Young Morning Show on WLB 1010 a.m., where we used to be at. We are also gearing up to launch the much anticipated Value My Vote 2020 and I already said that, but the Value My Vote 2020 podcast and the Political Palm with Mark and Hassan. I'm going to break down all the politics. I've already heard from a couple reporters from the Sun, from the Brew, and others who want to come in and be a part of that to talk politics. It's political time. They calling me now. Hassan, who's running for mayor? Everybody wants to know what's going on. So we're going to make sure we lead that effort right here from DMV Daily. And, of course, you can find all of our shows, iTunes, TuneIn, Stitcher, and Google Play. Watch them on Facebook Live, YouTube Live, and Periscope at DMV Daily News is always our, whatever they call it on Facebook, hashtag. Well, it's not even a hashtag, the at. It's not hashtag, it's at DMV Daily.
That's Twitter handle.
Twitter handle or username. at DMV Daily News. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube page. We need that. Matter of fact, we're this close to being able to do some stuff with it. So we only need a few more subscribers there. Go to YouTube, go to the page there, and just subscribe. It's free. Damn it. We ain't asking you to pay nothing. It's free. Go to the Facebook page. I know you're watching it. I see you, Haki, Jackie, Francis, Evan, Angelique, Larry, Bobby. I saw all of y'all. If y'all haven't liked the page, go and like it, and then come back and continue watching it. Anyway, we're going to get into the program today. If you want to get involved with this conversation, you want to call in, text in your question, make sure you do it. 410-819-2370 is the number. If you're on Facebook, of course, you can always chime in there. We're always paying attention to our Facebook feed as well, so we'll go back and forth with you there. Interesting part is my executive from iHeartMedia, there's a communications firm in Virginia that watches this every day. People are surprised that at internet radio that we're able to stack calls like we do and take callers and be so interactive. Like, they're like, yo, how the hell y'all do that? Y'all ain't on one of the regular terrestrial, and they're amazed. People know about podcasts. It's an emerging thing, but they never seen live streamed radio talk shows with that interaction before. And they're like, wow. Like, actually, we got an offer to come on iHeart. So iHeartMedia has got a brand new podcast station, and it's on 104.7, and it's all politics all day long. It's in the D.C., Maryland region. They just launched it. Matter of fact, I got it on my thing somewhere. It's called Wonk FM, for political wonk.
Yep.
And they were like, well, we listened to y'all show. Y'all got it. So they want us to bring the podcast onto there. So that'll be a great play. Plus, they got drive times too in the morning and the evening that you can be able to get. We're definitely coming on that. But, we're going to branch out. We're going to do some things. Look, we only been on since October 1st. We ain't been on 4 months yet to see where we came already. Got on studios, doing the thing. So by this time next year, man, to the moon. So I'm always honored and glad to be able to have guests like we have in the studio today with us, who jump at the opportunity. It's one thing to have somebody that you got to hunt down and, man, do you want to I don't even play that no more. If I ask you to come and you play a bunch of games, I'm not asking you again.
Right.
But this guy has always been responsive, has always been supportive of our efforts. Definitely appreciate that, but we also appreciate his recent bid. So you may have heard it when we did our live broadcast a few months ago during the general election. Matter of fact, the Value My Vote, the live when we did it with little shorty, my little sister, Nicole. So now we're back. He's an official candidate. making it happen over in East Baltimore, 14th District. We are joined by none other than the leading city council candidate in that district, Joseph Kane. What's happening?
What's going on, y'all? What's going on? Thank you for having me again. Thank you. You keep saying leading candidate. I like that, I like that because we're the only candidate right now, But we like that, Already putting work
See,
in.
I know how to ease it in.
That's why you're the professional.
People used to hate that. When I used to write articles, they'd be like, how the hell you make him the leading candidate? You know what I mean? Or how am I not in the top 30? But that, I'm telling you, and people pay attention to that. Yeah. They really do. They look at that and they're like, oh, he's the leading candidate, And really, you are the leading candidate. There's nobody else there. I mean, Mary Pat, you need to go, baby. I love you.
No, she's retiring. She's retiring.
Are you sure?
Yeah, I'm certain.
Are you positive? Because she hasn't made that announcement yet. And a lot of them always say that. You know this.
She wants to stay relevant until she's not anymore. She's retiring. She's done. Joe has told her to come on home.
I know. Joe, listen, I want to say before I even get into this conversation, if you don't mind.
Oh, wait, no, not that Joe, her Joe. Her husband.
Okay.
Not you.
No, I'm about to say, don't give me that way.
I didn't do that. No, Joe Clark. And not lead on me, Joe Clark, but Mary Pat's husband.
No, I just want to give a shout out to you. I worked down the Coast Guard yard in Curtis Bay, so we've been furloughed. My coworkers, the Coast Guard members, been furloughed for 35 days now. Oh, yeah. So, it was mixed emotions today when they said the government is going to possibly open back up. They still got to pass the bill and everything. But, hearing those conversations where people are struggling to really figure out what they're going to do next. I don't know nobody who can go 35 days without a paycheck.
You got that right.
And so, it was the mixed emotions when they announced that they have a deal, So shout out to the Coast Guard, shout out to Homeland Security, and everybody else affected.
I'm going to tell you who can go 35 days without a paycheck.
Ivan Bates.
The members of Congress and the president. Oh, Ivan Bates can go 35 years without a paycheck. He gets the bags.
I thought that's how we were bringing him in. I thought that was the intro. No,
that was a good intro. But no, I'm talking about Congress. It makes absolutely... Look, let me tell you something. And I told y'all this about Nancy Pelosi. She is drunk on her own power. Now, I don't fault her for the shutdown. This is all on Trump. But we could have gotten to a solution a long time ago, I believe, personally, if Nancy Pelosi put her little ego to the side, her party ego, and said, you know what? It's on him. Cool. But we got people suffering. 800,000 workers. That's a lot of goddamn workers. People who have not been paid. I was at the casino again, and two of the people there were gambling with their money because they had no other income. They worked at juvenile justice. They were contractors, federal contractors. And, they're like, look, man, I got to make some kind of money. So, unfortunately, they took the gambling route. But dude made it, though. He walked out there about $35,000 a day. So, I'm sure he all right. But you got people suffering, man. And that ain't cool at all. When you got kids to provide for, food to put on the table, everything else, man. I know, 2 paychecks. I mean, that's a lot. People are like, oh, it's only 2 paychecks, if it's every 2 weeks. Like, you know how much money that is every 2 weeks that they are used to getting that they no longer get? Yeah. That's a big impact, man. So, yeah, Ivan's in the bill. He ain't got to worry about, shutdowns and furloughs. That's a good part about owning your own business. I tell everybody they need to,
Look, I'll be the first to sit down and say a lot of the furloughed workers, they have children, and some of them had issues, and so they weren't getting paid. Ivan Bates wasn't getting paid, so we all need each other. Right. If you look around at a number of the businesses in the local area and the community, let's sit down and look at their books the month of January, and they'll sit down and show you they weren't very good. That's right. A number of people, for us as a people, February is a big month because we get our tax returns back. And so
everybody living large for 30 days.
Yeah. And so what
I tell y'all? I said they open it for 3 weeks. I'm filing my taxes tomorrow. Just in case they shut down again. I'm gonna have my goddamn taxes. I need that money, goddamn it. The casino be calling me. Gotta make it. No, I got kids.
So cussing again, Mama, get him. Okay.
Stop snitching. Mama Marlene, we're going to have a conversation.
Right. I dropped the F-bomb one time, and I heard about it for 20 minutes.
And she's right there, too. Don't drop it down. www.joecaneforbaltimore.com is the number. Let me ask you something. Why are you running?
Listen, that's a good question. So first of all, I was born and raised in Northeast Baltimore in the Waverly Etno Gardens community, right in 14th District. Being raised there, I remember going to the Powell Center as a young child, playing basketball at the Powell Center, learning those values of teamwork and what it meant to like really grow up in a community where maybe I didn't, my group was a single mother. So our mentors were people in the community. Mm-hmm. And so, learning those values from people outside the home, has always stuck with me. After leaving high school, I graduated from Northern High School. I went to Northern High School. I left there and went to the Army. It was there where I learned. Oh, yeah. It was there we learned those Army values of leadership, loyalty, duty, respect, selfless service, honor, integrity, personal courage, right? It was there we learned those values of like what it meant to be a leader. Not necessarily you jump out there first, but you first had to be a good follower. Mm-hmm. You learn what your skill is. You perfect that skill. I was in the artillery. And so I learned the skill of attention to detail. My job was to tell the artillery guns where to shoot. And so if we got off a mile or one button this way or one button that way, we could possibly kill someone. Mm-hmm. And so attention to detail became like core essential to my life. And so learning all those things in life, and then becoming a single parent at the age of 22. My daughter, I got her at the age of 2 years old. She's 13 now. Had an audition today at Baltimore School of Arts. And so like these things have like fueled this sense of urgency of like, how can we get our city back on track? I've seen friends go on the wrong path. I've seen friends go on the right path. But it's like we need to get that sense of urgency back of like how we can make Baltimore a better place for everyone. Not just my 4 children in Baltimore City schools, but for everybody. And so that's what fuels me and why I'm running for city council in the 14th district.
But all that you named, one thing I really respect about it, and it's evident here today. I watch Love and Hip Hop. That's my dirty little secret show, right? I love Love and Hip Hop.
Atlanta?
Atlanta's cool. New York is the best to me.
Okay.
New York, then Atlanta. I can't get with Miami.
You can't get with Hollywood?
Nah. LA is a smidgen okay. Florida, Miami, that's garbage. But New York, I love it. And I'm going to tell you who I love the most. Remy Ma and Papoose are the epicenter and the epitome of black love. Yeah. And they preach it even during the show. You never see stupidity coming from them. It's always about black love and marriage. And you and Angelique, every time I see you, you with her, your wife. And that, to me, again, same way with Sean and Tammy Stinnett. Tammy works right upstairs. Yeah. Y'all two are couples that I talk to my girl about. Like, that's what I want to be like. You know what I mean? Married. And like that's your best friend. Listen. You know what I mean? That's big. That's huge.
growing like, it might sound like political talk, but this is like real talk right here. Like growing up in a single home, right, and then having that experience of becoming a single father, and it was me and Angelique, we've known each other since grade school. We went our separate ways, but then we came back, blended our families together, we got married. But like really understanding like that balance in your life, some people who know me from the Army will know I lived a little different lifestyle, but having somebody like Angelique who can really bring that balance and who knows like, Joe, you need to do this, you need to do that, or even she's the de facto campaign manager right now, right? So she's like, you need to make these phone calls, So that's my balance in life right now,
That's awesome.
That's awesome. That's your partner.
That's right. That's right.
Wow. That's your better half.
That's right.
They say.
Right.
Well, my relationship goals are Lana Vates and Ivan Vates. Thank you. Nobody asked me, but Dr. Lana Vates and Ivan are my role models.
Don't get it twisted. We watch. Y'all, we watch people because y'all know behind the scenes, it ain't always peaches and cream. It ain't always
At
Facebook,
all. Right.
And even on the way here, I had to check myself, it ain't always peaches and cream, But it's just about balance, having that partner, someone you can trust,
Well, I think
so,
also.
And don't get me killed by Lana. Lana, I'm sorry.
He didn't mention. He didn't think of it.
He mentioned
Remy Ma and Papoose before he got to you. Okay, Dr. Lana Bates.
Mark's not coming on the show no more after that.
You hear that, Dr.
Lana? Out there like that. So Remy Ma and Papoose, you see that. You know what I mean? Like, I see y'all, but I don't see y'all all the time. I see you all the time.
Yeah.
But, I respect that as well. I'm not trying to, I didn't want to make like I, left y'all out there like that. But go ahead.
Well, I think it's one thing when you see them, and then it's another thing when you see them together with the children, the family, and the balance that's needed. I can say like right now, Lana is in Philly at a conference. So yesterday, I got London solo. Man, oh man, oh man. London was tearing up the house. She was taking the pillows apart out the couch. So, I called Lana. I showed her the video, hey, see what's going on. And, my wife being a supporter was like, yeah, she need to go to bed. And, what I think is important is when you do have a family structure, especially with Baltimore, I think there's so many kids out there that need love. And when they sit around, they're able to look and see a positive, loving relationship. And then that will sit down and gives them hope. I think one of the things, and I want to piggyback off of Son and Mark, because you two have such an amazing marriage, and when you sit down, you talk to people, and people see that, your children are watching that.
That's exactly
so
right.
by watching that, your children will be able to take that into the world. Yep. And so when they get out in the world, they know what a good, positive, loving marriage looks like and a positive, loving relationship looks like. Right. So you're already in that regard winning in the house. And I know, with every relationship, we argue, but we argue in a certain way where some things I'm just not going to say out my mouth. Right. I'm not going to curse. I'm not going to call you out your name. I'm just not going to do that. I mean, yeah, I like, I got to spend a lot of money on my teeth. So, I don't want to go ahead and not have them. But more importantly, it's the respect. And I think that when you see that and you have that loving relationship, it says a lot about your character as a man.
Thank you. And actually get this is some points I'm about to win right here. But my mother-in-law and father-in-law are celebrating 33 years of marriage today.
Whoa.
Wow.
Whoa.
Congratulations, John. That's huge.
That's huge.
So what you're saying is Angelique knew how and she taught you. Okay,
Listen, her father had that conversation.
Oh, I know that's right. I know that's
right. You know
right.
the funny thing is, Lana looks all sweet and I know Lana probably be tagging on that. I wish she would. Lana looks like shit knocking
no
nigga out.
Yo, you don't even understand.
2-piece and a biscuit.
Yo, when you get that cold treatment, she ain't say nothing, blah, 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 blah.
She ain't got to.
She put on her mask to go to sleep, and she better not say a word to her. I'm like, okay. In the morning, you be like, can we talk now? You waking up first. Can we talk now? No, I'll tell you when we can talk.
That's exactly.
Oh, man.
Get that treatment. So what made you, because I remember, you were instrumental and a big part of our senator's election, Mary Washington, just last year.
Yeah.
What got you evolved from, because you're an amazing photographer, you do videography, that's how I met you.
That's right.
And then now you're emerging to the political scene with the council. What made you say, this is a perfect transition for me in my life?
Yeah, no. So I skipped over a lot, but one of the things growing up in Baltimore, my family grew up right here in Midway on Bartlett Avenue, 649 Bartlett. And so my grandmother would tell you that she helped McFadden, Senator McFadden, get in office. She worked on his campaign, had us out there handing out flyers and stuff. And so just being civically engaged, right, has always been something in my family. My grandmother, when I told her I was running in the 14th district and that the councilwoman was Mary Pat Clark, my grandmother said, "You come sit down. We have to have a talk, because that's my girl,
I'm not gonna be able to support you,
right? And then I remember me and her going back and forth because she lives in the 45th, and so we were going back and forth about her vote for Corey, for Senator McCray, And so for me, it was about how do we look forward in our district? Like, what does our district look like in 2020 going forward? And so when I look at the political landscape right now, we have a new senator, Senator Washington. We have a new delegate, Regina T. Boyce. Our district is moving forward. And so we want to make sure that our council moves forward as well. And so we have to, for me, it's about getting that sense of urgency back on the council representing the 14th district. Councilwoman Clark is a stalwart in her own right, not just in Baltimore, not just in Maryland, but the United States, So it's not lost upon me with the work she has done in our community, but it's about how do we move our district forward beyond 2020. Mm-hmm. And get that sense of urgency back, that same sense of urgency she had when she had 4 children in Baltimore City schools, like I do now, of how we want to make sure our schools are perfect for everybody else's schools or doing well for everybody else's children. So that's what motivates me to run. Like how, if not me, then who? I've had conversations. Y'all talk a lot about, have you talked to the people in your district looking to run? Listen, I've reached out to every single person who's rumored to run in our district, and I've talked to a few of them, and we've talked to a few of them to some of them have come behind us and support our campaign. You know, Steve Hope was at our fundraiser last night. They just had a baby. Congratulations to them. She was pregnant. Like, his wife was 1 week overdue last night at our fundraiser, and she had a baby this morning. So congrats to them.
Now look at that.
And so, you know, Steve is supporting our campaign. And so for me, it's about, like, how do we move our district beyond 2020? And I tell everybody, if I didn't think I was the best person for the job, I wouldn't be out here. Back when we were thinking about running, you know, it was rumored, you know, like, what if Dr. Kalila Harris runs? Listen, if Dr. Kalila Harris would have stepped out there, Joseph Kane would have a Dr. Kalila Harris t-shirt on, you know. But, you know, we have to make sure we're putting the right people in these offices to move our district forward.
And speaking of Dr. Kalila Harris, she said, thank you for your service to this country, to your community here in the 14th. You really do some great work every day that people will never see. You get all her respect. And your family is black love personified, and that she appreciates.
Y'all set that up. I'm not buying it. Y'all had a little talk beforehand. I know what's going on.
He prepped for this. He bang.
No, I promise you. I promise you. Like that's what happens when you're in the community. You're involved and you're doing work. People real recognize is real, and so we're out here doing work in the community. People know me, not just from, like, you know, when I came back from the Army, but I grew up in Waverly and LaGarde. My father's side of the family is from Chum, you know. So we're not just coming in trying to do some things. We've been here. We've experienced what Baltimore has the best to offer and has worse to offer. My uncle.
So you're not a carpetbagger like some other people.
Listen, I think everything we need. I think everything we need in our city is right here.
Odette is still deciding. Don't do that.
I did not put that person's name out there.
Oh, I thought you said.
See,
I got
terrible, man. You terrible. She gonna karate kick you.
Shout out to my good friend Odette Ramos.
Happy birthday.
I don't think you're a carpetbagger. You run where you want to run, girl.
Happy birthday to Odette. Happy birthday to Odette.
Y'all gonna get us assassinated one day. You. Ain't nobody even say nobody's name and you put the woman name.
I'm America's sweetheart. I've been voted so 3 times in a row. I'm not worried about it.
And you on the Central Committee with her, ain't you?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, she does serve on the Central
Committee. I can't wait till the next meeting. I'm definitely going to be at that one. Oh, Lord. Make sure y'all send that to Odette so she can see that. All right?
So, go ahead. Go ahead.
Oh, okay. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say what I really appreciate about you, Joseph, is that, and this is like, you are the second wave of a conversation we began having in Baltimore about this city council 2 cycles ago. You know, in 2010 with Shannon Sneed, she was the only one out there. She was a maniac on the doors. You know, we almost got her there. We had a write-in. She just lost. In 2014, we said, we're not going to make that mistake again. And so we had folks coming. What I appreciate from you is that you did not come up through the normal cycles. You know, you're not a former staffer to somebody, a former chief of staff to somebody. Like, your authenticity and your advocacy comes from the streets and comes from doing the work and having kids in the schools. And it's a profile that really fits. If you look at the stars of this current council, folks like, you know, Zeke Cohen and Christopher Burnett and Shannon Sneed and John Bullock and those new folks, none of them were staffers to somebody else. They were all folks that were vested in the community and decided that, like you said, if not me, then who? You know, and got out there and ran. And so now they have kind of blazed the trail for, I think, what is going to be the second wave. And so, taking off my CIU hat, you know, I am glad that you're running, and I think that you really are. You're a good blueprint for this district and for what needs to happen in this district, because for too long what we've done in many of these districts is it's kind of like when somebody leaves, it's like, who's next in line? Oh, well, who's their chief of staff? Or, you know, who was the delegate to the senator? Or who was the, you know, whatever to the whatever. And I think that Baltimore in many respects has been ill-served by that model. And so I appreciate you breaking that model and stepping out there at considerable, you know, expense to, I'm sure Angelique has nights when she'd rather you be at home. You know what I mean? That's right. She is sacrificing her husband for the good of the community, just like my good friend, Dr. Lana Bates. But so, no, I understand.
How much you pay him, Lana? My goodness.
Having worked in politics for 25 years, well, maybe 20 years, but I've seen up close, like, the sacrifice that it means for families. And so I really respect that you all recognize that your contributions are important enough to in many ways, have your family, you know, on hold in some respects. And so I just want to say thank you for running. I'm glad you're running, and I think you're the think you're the wave of the future.
I mean, first of all, thank you. You know, it means a lot from you, coming from you. But the thing is like what fuels this is really the sense of urgency. Like Mackenzie Elliott would have been the same age of my son, you know, when she was killed. So, you know, we can't have this continue to happen in Baltimore City. We have to figure out ways to move our city forward. You know, the old way of doing things is not working, you know, for everyone, you know, and so we need to make sure Baltimore works for everyone.
You know, what I like about you is that you're always so positive.
That's right.
And, you know, I can't stand people who are always, as my mother-in-law says, I don't want to be a Debbie Downer. And I love my mother-in-law, but that's just her term, Debbie Downer. And you're a very positive brother. You always say so many positive things. You're always talking about the children. You're very invested in your children's school. You know, when it came to the issues of guns in the school, carried by the school police, is how when you first came across you. You know, I've told you then, hey, you know, I'm gonna knock on doors for you. I still will. It's a little cold right now for a brother.
Yeah, you gotta wait on that, but
we out here every weekend, y'all. 10 o'clock in the morning.
I definitely believe that. I'll come see you in the spring or early
you
summer.
In spirit.
April, May.
Yeah, exactly. But you know, I like your positive. Let me ask you: is there one thing that you learned during the fight against having armed officers? During that whole fight, in which you've been now successful, congratulations, something that you learned from that experience that you would plan to take with you if you were successful in the city council?
Yeah, I mean, so HB 31, and the defeat of HB 31 really represents what our campaign is about. And it's, you know, so a lot of times people say, hey, Joe, you can't run on education as Baltimore City Council person because you don't have legislative control over the schools in Baltimore. But the fact of the matter is we do have power to use that bully pulpit to organize our communities effectively around issues that affect Baltimore City schools. And so as a council member, I will be right there leading those efforts against stuff like HB 31 or for the current recommendations. That's what we can do right now under the current construct, is really organize our communities back into the political process. And because we know, like our campaign motto is that we know that the power of the people is greater than the people in power. And so if we're organizing our communities effectively, you can put whatever bill you want to put out there, but we're going to go ahead and make sure we organize to take that bill down, especially if it's against the people. Or if you're putting a positive bill out there, we're going to do everything we can do to support that bill. And so that's what we're going to do as a city council member. That's the lesson we've learned, that, listen, this idea of like organizing people and communities, that's how we get things done in Baltimore City, given the current construct of our city government.
Well, speaking of education and on the local level, can you please, organize a group that has the testicular fortitude to not be no punks and let the mayor get away with a budget that consistently only gives education 11 to 15% of the budget, while public safety continues to get 40 to 50% of the budget. Yeah. Please. And that ain't no knock on this mayor. That's happened every mayor before her too. Okay. It ain't, but we need a council to stand up and say, hold on. Every other jurisdiction, the majority of the money goes to education, except Baltimore. And I don't care that you say the state gave us a certain amount of money. We can also allocate that money to our own children.
I mean, even in our household, like our budget dictates our priorities, right? And so we have to we're serious about like addressing the public safety issue in Baltimore. We can't look at it as like, oh, we need more policing. Like public safety in Baltimore is a more comprehensive lens of like, how do we effectively fund our schools? How do we effectively addressing the public health issues in our communities? So for me as a city council member, I would never, sign on to a piece of a budget that does not prioritize fully funding our schools in Baltimore City.
Absolutely. We got a caller on the line. We want to get them in before we get into the issues that you're running on.
Apparently the delegate is on the stream.
Oh, welcome. She watches. Yeah.
Hello, Delegate Glenn. Would you like to comment about House Bill 31?
Well, she's already. She's not. She put it forward, okay. and I just told what's his name this on Facebook, acted like he said some word that I didn't agree with. She put the bill forward, as most legislators do, on behalf of a group or individuals. Once that bill was shot down at the school board, she took it back. Now, it's not like she fought for it even after the school board voted it down that they didn't want it.
Well, which I think makes no sense that she didn't have to for it.
She didn't have to pre-file it. She didn't. I mean,
I'm sure she was asked to pre-file it.
No, why? There's no differentiation. If you knew that the school board who really supposed to govern the school system, although their input would not have been dispositive, their views on this issue would have been very important. It would have been prudent of her to consider their views before she put the bill forward. I agree with you. It wasn't reckless.
The last time?
It wasn't reckless.
Right,
I agree. I agree it wasn't
reckless.
But it was not prudent of her to go forward either.
Well, here's the thing.
I'm looking for a middle ground. Can we all reason together?
Asked a particular group, right? Because the school board isn't the only group that's going to have a say in this.
Right.
That says, oh, I want to wait for y'all to vote before I put in a bill. That never happens. They usually pre-file legislation like, yeah, she may have, but you don't know if the school board may have never voted on this. I doubt that they were going to vote on it before the bill was actually pre-filed. That probably prompted them to say,
no,
now
they would have
bill.
to. They would have to take a position on an issue
they
like
don't.
that. Yes, they would.
She's had this bill been in before. They never took an issue
3 years
on that.
ago. But okay, well, so if it wasn't at their behest, you said she put it in on behalf of someone, right? Well, then who was it? If it wasn't, the school?
I'm not sure. I'm not privy to.
Could have been law enforcement.
Yeah, it could. I'm sure. And Clyde and them probably said, we want this bill.
Yeah.
And she's always said that she's supportive of the measure.
And there has been some citizen groups that were in favor of this bill.
Very much so.
Yeah.
It was half the room there that night were in favor.
Yeah.
Most of them were the older blacks.
Of course.
That
Yes.
came up under the civil rights era, that came up under the,
under like Moses and
we want the
Abraham.
second- No, they want the Second Amendment.
But this is the thing. What I didn't understand is that much of the advocacy around being in favor of this proposal was people getting up and saying, my officer, he mentors me, he talks to me, he cradles me in his arms like sweet baby Jesus, and all the rest of that. I'm just saying. The point I'm making is they were speaking in a very authentic way to the real incredible and important and integral role that many of these officers play in the lives of these students, and no one's taking anything away from that, but. My question is, you need a gun to do that? I mean...
you need a gun to protect the premises in case of an idiot. Like I said, guns don't kill people. Dumbass people with guns kill people.
And there are some dumbass people that are school police officers, right?
Okay, and there's some more dumbass people that are Baltimore City police officers.
Agreed.
But you ain't got no problem with them having a gun.
Well, they have to be armed. You don't have to be armed in the school.
Why don't they have to be armed then?
Because
that don't make sense. You're doing the same roles and responsibilities as a police officer, other than you're not patrolling the streets. Why shouldn't you be armed?
The school hall. Well, go ahead.
They're not custodians. They're police.
I don't want to, bring this bill back any life, but I will say this.
It ain't going nowhere.
It's gone.
It's only gone for this session.
The board voted 10-0. You don't have the votes.
You know how long this debate, this issue has been going on in the city?
I know, and it's never passed, and it never look.
But it ain't gonna go nowhere.
Well, it won't go anywhere. People keep talking about it, but what you need to understand is that Annapolis it's the same cast of characters for 4 years. You're done in the first year. You're done for 4 more years. We'll see you in 5. Yeah. You can talk about it every year, but it's not going to change anything.
Well, no, because I don't think the passage of this bill has anything to do with the school board vote. Honestly, if there was enough influence of legislators who wanted this, whether the school board voted the way they did or not, they could still get this bill.
You're
passed.
exactly right. If Cheryl thought she had the vote, she would have proceeded.
Yeah,
with it. She doesn't, and she won't.
And she won't. So we ain't gonna. I'm sorry, we got the caller on the line. We forgot all about the call.
Yeah.
Is the caller on the phone?
Let's go to the caller.
Who is the caller?
And I guess a lot of the bill has to do with too is that they don't want to have another Greater Mills happen. What took place?
We never went under that, but
what's Greater Mills? I don't know what that is.
The school in Maryland that had the school shooting.
Oh, okay. All right.
Brother Richard.
Hello.
Hello.
Kane, the question I had is, what do you have to say about Catherine Pugh's water hikes and what can be done regarding like the Board of Public Works and other appointed positions that have such undemocratic power in the city?
Yeah, what's going on, Richard? Listen. First of all, Baltimore, we're tired of the water issue, period. I don't care how you twist and turn this debate. We're tired of it. Somebody needs to fix this once and for all. I think one of the things we need to do is we need to make sure, we need to create a system where the people we elect, our council has some oversight into these agencies. We have the strong mayor form of government, but it gives them this autonomy to just, do what they think is best. They passed this. I think the vote was 3-2 to approve this water hike. We need to make sure. I'm for taking those mayoral appointees off and leaving it for the 3 electeds that we put there. We need to make sure it's a democratic process. Those are the people we elected to represent us and to make policy for us, and they need to be allowed to do so. And so we need to make sure that's what we need to do. It also provides that level of accountability. We can't vote those 2 other votes out. Those people who vote in
you can't vote out Rudy Child.
Yeah, you can't. But
right.
we have to. we can hold the city council president accountable when he votes a certain way, or et cetera. So we have to provide those systems of accountability, Richard.
Absolutely. And I'm glad you took that issue, because this is an issue we've been working on for over a decade now.
That's right.
In eliminating the 2 mayoral appointees.
That's right.
And the current incumbent, Mary Pat, was at one time the swing vote that had we had got her support, it would have actually passed had it been introduced. But then she got, a lot of old heads believe in this system of mayoral control that we have and we've had, including my girl Sheila, who believes that the mayor needs that control. I ain't one of those damn people. No. And I'm old. But we need some younger, progressive minds on this issue that we can hold those 3 people accountable.
That's right.
Not 5 people, 2 of them we can't do a damn thing about.
That's what having a democratic process is about. It's about electing someone to represent you and holding them accountable. And those people are carrying out what you elected them to do. And if they don't do it, we get them out of there and move on to someone else. Simple
and that will be a charter amendment, so the voters would still have to approve it.
That's right. Sure.
That's my thing. Don't stop the voters from approving it.
Right.
You might have an issue with it, cool. Let it go to the voters and give them the say. Now, if they decide against it, then God bless.
What it is.
There it is.
Richard, you have anything else for us?
Let me think.
Nah,
you can't ask Richard that. Okay, we'll be here all night. Bye, Richard.
I got one more.
Make it quick.
Okay, Joe, who do you think would be your biggest ally out of all the people currently on the city council? And if there's people you think would be perfect for everything, you can go ahead and spit their names out.
Yeah. So my biggest ally in this race is the people in my district. We're out knocking on doors every weekend. Talking to neighbors. We're talking to people like Mr. and Mrs. Justice on 35th Street who are afraid to come out the house. They've been living there for 20 years, afraid to come out the house. Those are my biggest allies in this race. People who want to see change in our district and want to see our district move forward.
I love how Joseph sidestepped the question. You don't even feel bad about it. You're like, okay, you ain't answer. I'm cheering for you anyway.
Can't argue with that one, right?
So, question from Facebook.
All right, thank you, Richard.
Speaking of Dr. Kalia Harris, she says, how do you feel about 16-year-olds being given the right to vote on local matters as they have in Montgomery County?
You were in that meeting. You were in that meeting that y'all set up beforehand, because that's a science issue. I know what's going on here. I see what it is.
Listen, I promise. Listen, I think first of all, I think we need to broaden our umbrella of who's voting and how to vote. Everyone in here is a citizen and should have equal protection under the law and so forth. So we need to broaden this umbrella. So if we can make it effectively for 16-year-olds to vote, I'm for it. I mean, why aren't we extending the right to vote to everyone? Not limiting it, but making sure everyone has the opportunity to vote. Especially if
everyone.
American citizens have the right to vote.
So my 12-year-old can vote?
I think that we talk about responsible. So we're talking about 16-year-olds where we have precedent for where this works, And so I think that 16-year-olds have the right to drive in America. Why not have the right to vote?
Well, driving and voting to me. Now, I'm the biggest advocate on voting.
Yeah.
And young people being involved. I mean, we got the bill that I offered lower the age to run at 18.
Yeah.
I agree with that. But 16,
I think that's too young.
I don't think it's too young mindset, but I think at that point they're not focused on voting. I think they're more focused on school.
We got people
and doing other stuff.
We got 26-year-olds who aren't focused on voting.
We got 56.
I mean, look at our political landscape. Some people who voting forever aren't, voting in their best interest. So it's about making sure we open that umbrella to improve our system of voting here in America, but definitely here in Baltimore.
Okay. Well, we're going to have to debate that one.
Yeah.
We got another caller.
We got the man that actually has a stake in the whole schools and guns in the schools.
Hey, Clyde. Sergeant Boatwright.
That's right.
Hey, Sarge.
Good afternoon, gentlemen. Thank you for having me. I had to call. You guys know that I frequently tune into your show. I just kind of take exception when Jason says that we have a bunch of dumbasses running around as school police. That's not what I said. For me.
That's not what I said. What I said was he said that he doesn't want dumbasses with guns running around in the schools. And I said, what if some of the dumbasses are police officers? I did not say.
Who said they didn't want dumbass?
You said I don't want dumbasses with guns shooting up the school.
Get it right. I said guns don't kill people.
Right.
Dumbass people with guns kill people.
And I said, what if some of those dumbass people are school police officers? Isn't that what I said?
You said, well, yes,
right.
Or they are.
No, I did not say they are.
I said, rewind the tape.
I said, what if some of them are? I did not say anything approaching they are. I said it's a possibility. Given the things, no.
You didn't say all that.
No. What I'm elaborating on is that I did not say that the dumbasses are the police officers, which is what you said I said. What I said was that what if some of the dumbasses are actually the school police officers? We've seen excesses all across the country. School police officers, normal police officers. Look, there's nothing inherently about being a law enforcement officer that exempts you from being a dumbass. Right. I know you don't want to hear that, but it's the truth.
Look what happened with Anton Brown. I mean, just
Thank
recently.
You. We were just arguing
that
about
wasn't a police. That wasn't a school police.
That wasn't a school police, but that was a law enforcement officer. We're talking about guys with guns.
Look, in every go ahead.
So
let Clyde standing up.
Go ahead, Clyde. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Rank Miles. You got
Well, with respect to House Bill 31, it went through the process. It was pre-filed by Delegate Glenn, who had the foresight to see that this was an issue. And now, everyone is pounding their chest like Donkey Kong. We gotta win. It's dead. It's gone. It's dead. It's gone. And that's fine. That's fine to believe, to take that opinion. But on behalf of the men and women that put their lives on the line every day to protect the staff and students, I just heard our candidate, Joseph Kane, mention equal protection under the law. But everybody has equal protection under the law except for the students of Baltimore City, because they are not protected like the other 23 jurisdictions in the state of Maryland. I'm going to stand on this issue. I'm going to continue to stand on this issue. If you guys disagree, Joseph Kane and Jason, that's fine. But I think that there should be some sort of common ground, because what we are trying to achieve here is to make sure that our city is safe. If crime is an issue in Baltimore, we can really see that it is an issue. Let's stop handcuffing the police and let us do our job.
So let me ask you real quick. You said that we're not protected like the other 23. The other 23 counties have the ability to have armed officers?
Yeah.
No.
Every other jurisdiction has armed police officers in the state of Maryland.
Baltimore's the only jurisdiction.
We're the only jurisdiction that has a school police.
Right.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
So that's we're parsing words here, but the fact of the matter is, we all want to make sure our children are safe in school. I have 4 children in Baltimore City public schools, and I thank those officers every day for the work they're doing. They've been successful. They're leading the state in the work and reform they have done in our schools under the leadership of Chief Ham and Sergeant Boatwright. They're doing an excellent job. I think we should. I think just our definition of what safety is and how we get there is different. We don't need more guns. We need to invest in other areas that improve public safety, that drive crime.
Joseph, Joseph,
what's up?
Right there, you're adding the narrative. That's the same narrative that we're not adding more guns. The officers have the guns every day. They have them every day, and they're in school. So the 33 officers in schools have their guns every day. We're not adding more guns.
Can I ask you a question?
We got to kill that narrative.
You're just increasing the amount of time that they have access to them.
Yeah, so just so that we're clear on this, officers have guns when they go into the school, correct?
Correct.
And do they have to put them in a lockbox or something when they go into the classroom, and what time is this?
So this right after the intake bell, like when all of the students come in the morning. So the same kids that everyone said is going to be scared of the police officer for having a gun, they walk past that same officer every morning with the officer that's armed. It's only when they go into the classroom setting
I think
that the officer has to secure the weapon.
Now, let me ask you the last part of the question, just so that everybody has a visual of what this really looks like. When does the officer get their gun back?
Right before the dismissal of school.
Okay.
Can I just clarify something to that? Because if you read the language of the current legislation, though what we just discussed there between Ivan and Sergeant Boatwright that applies to officers who are assigned to those schools permanently or temporarily. So an officer and how many Sergeant Boatwright, how many officers do you have currently assigned to a school permanently or temporarily?
It's about 33 officers.
So you have 33 officers. Now, how many officers do you have altogether, Sergeant Boatwright?
105.
So
we're slated for 105, but we have some vacancies.
So 35.
So the numbers fluctuate.
So 35 subtract the whole total of officers. The rest of those officers, they can enter schools because with their weapons, if there was an emergency,
right?
Because they are not temporarily or permanently assigned to a school. So this whole idea that we don't. I'm just saying. So the idea that we're not having this protection is a false narrative. Because we have 107.
Let me explain something to you.
We have
100. Like you talked about your experience. This has been my experience for the last 19 years policing the city. Seconds matter. In an active shooter situation, seconds matter. So let me give you a little bit of a demographic.
Sergeant Boatwright, you're talking to a combat veteran. You're talking to a combat veteran. I went to Iraq in 2005, 2006. You're talking to a combat veteran. I understand what seconds look like in a combat zone, and so I can't imagine what it looks like as far as trying to protect students. But we're talking about our children and providing their public safety. And so I'm gonna let you finish. I'm sorry, but I think the matter has been settled. 10-0 at the school board. The thing is off the table. I think it's time to move forward. And how do we move forward in making sure that our children are safe in schools? Because harping on this issue that's already been debated and decided.
Well, I think the best way to move forward is to not use this as a political football to get your agenda pushed. I think that's the issue. The safety of kids should not be marginalized for a political position. If you're going to run on your issues, but don't put my officers in the trick bag and have their safety compromised just because you want a political position. That's where I'm coming from with it.
Well, I appreciate you, Sergeant Boatwright, and the work you and your officers do. I told you the other night that when you walked in the Urban League that you look like Kahan Dillon walking with 10 people into a room, and not only that, you guys are the best dressed people in the Baltimore City Public Schools. So I thank you for the work you all do, man.
All right, thank you, Joe.
All right, thanks to for calling in. And
thanks, Hassan. Thank you, guys.
And giving us that information, too, because I just learned some stuff there that I didn't know about. I didn't even know the officers had guns going to the school prior to the dismissal. I mean, the early morning bell and the dismissal bell.
Right, in and out, just not while kids are in class.
So, but technically, I guess if you had a visiting officer and they were just visiting that school, they can walk around the school.
Correct.
So, I mean, look, the lawyer and me, I got to figure out a way.
Right around that.
So, to me, if you really wanted to go ahead and do it, what you would then just have a rotating basis where you'd have a different of them, those 70-plus officers visiting those schools. And, hey, you come and you walk around this school, around the halls for an hour. Then someone else comes, they walk around the halls for an hour. Because basically what you're really talking about is the 33 officers that are assigned.
That's right.
So that way you're kind of still getting what you want and you're still protecting the kids. And, if you're looking a way to going around what they want. I mean, so I guess.
Right. The everyday guy that's stationed in the school, we don't want them to have a gun while in school because, as the testimony evinced at the hearing, that part of their role, in addition to providing security, is they really are mentors to these kids and father figures, mother figures, whatever, all kinds of things that they are to them. Those folks we don't want to have guns. There's nobody, I mean, we've sat and talked about, well, this is to protect the students, but, what do you say to the students who shut that meeting down saying, I do not want these officers in my school armed? Right. What do you say to them?
Well, that's part of our Bill of Rights that we crafted under the Algebra Project back in 2009, an entire Constitution. So they're going to follow there, and they made a great presentation.
I didn't realize you were up to. I got to say, shout out Hassan, you and the Algebra. Shout out to them. I mean, it really restored a lot of my faith in young people that they came forward to make their case. They were very, Cheryl was all dramatic and all, but they came to make their case. They were respectful about it. They were not, it was so fitting that it was the day after MLK's birthday.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
They were
this
articulate.
was about civil disobedience and emphasis on the civil.
So are you advocating what Shane's on there advocating and disbanding the entire police department altogether in Baltimore?
Shane's not advocating.
He just said it.
I don't know what he said.
He said disband the entire police department. Police department.
I think Shane is expressing frustration and like just the process. But I think when we talk about public safety in Baltimore in general, I do want to talk about something I'm proud of that's coming to my community. Back in summer of last year, we had a young guy.
Political man. Boy, you know how to spin the hell out. I told you. Did you go to my spin class or something, man? Go ahead, man.
Haven't you learned when you're running for office, they're signing on to your agenda. You're not signing on to the supporters'
agenda. Yeah, but most of them don't got that unless they go through something. They don't know how to do that.
I went through Baltimore. That's it. I've been through Baltimore. Listen, so I'm proud that in our community we had a young guy named Rashad Queen. He got killed this summer on my block. Murdered, over a dozen gunshots killed him. And after that happened, a lot of my neighbors became with a tight knit neighborhood. Shout out to 37th Street in Baltimore City, right? A lot of our neighbors were puzzled, like what could we have done to prevent this young man from being killed? Like what interventions does Baltimore City have for a situation that it goes above a friendly or neighborly intervention, but it comes less than a police intervention, right? And so we began thinking of ideas of like, what does this look like in Baltimore City? So the first round of ideas were community crisis prevention teams. We were thinking that maybe schools can be this hub where these community crisis prevention teams can work out of and respond to, you have a public health official, you have a law enforcement officer, not necessarily a police officer, but law enforcement, you have social workers, you have all these people hubbed in the school that could potentially respond to different crises happening in different neighborhoods. And then so this summer I was at the Baltimore Book Festival and I came upon a lecture that was given by Tara Huffman from Open Society Institute. And she was dropping some knowledge, right? And so after everybody talked, I ran after her and I was like, hey, I had this idea, the one I just showed you. And she said, we should talk. So we went down to her office a few more weeks later. We talked about this idea. And then we were sold an idea of micro community policing. That's in Seattle. They're under consent decree right now. And so it was like, we have to acknowledge that no two neighborhoods in Baltimore are the same. Park Heights is different than Oakenshaw, Waverly and Edna Gardens live right next to each other, divided by one street, different neighborhoods. So we need a policing strategy that's not from the top down, but from the bottom up, that really pays respect and homage to the uniqueness of each community. So in Edna Gardens, we're launching this partnership with Open Society Institute, where we're going to go ahead and do a comprehensive understanding of what are the things that are driving crime in our community, right? We're going to it's a neighbor-driven, community-driven. We're going to identify these issues, and Open Society is going to fund resources into how do we eliminate those issues. I'm proud because I think that's something, this type of micro-community policing, if this works, this can be a model for what community policing looks like in Baltimore as we move forward in our consent decree. Because we just can't throw police to crime in our city. You can lock everybody up, Hassan, and guess what? You're still going to have crime happen. You know why? Because we did nothing to address the systemic issues that drive crime in the first place. Right. And so we have to have a strategy that really talks about addressing those comprehensive things, those systemic issues, those historic issues that drive crime in our city in the first place.
We got a call on.
Yeah, we have another call, and you might even want to look at even doing that within the policing districts, because that's what an idea that I had. Most of the calls that police run on, a lot of times, are small little issues that really
communities can handle.
Right, the communities can handle. That's right. Caller, you on the line? Caller.
Hello.
Yeah, how you doing?
Okay. Who we speaking to?
This is Don.
Hey, Don.
Hey, listen, Jason, you said that they didn't put the bill forward because they didn't want the same thing to happen down in St. Mary's County. What were you referring to?
Oh, certainly you.
No, talking about, so I was saying that the bill may have been put forward because they didn't want the same thing that happened within St. Mary's County, meaning another mass shooting. So they wanted to be able to have a front line of defense. So the police officers may have, asked the bill to be introduced so that they could have the same, afforded opportunities that St. Mary's County officers have and every other school district within the state has.
So I guess one of the questions is, and there's a couple that the community has to ask, is what is it that the so-called advocates in Baltimore City, what is it that they know that the other 23 jurisdictions don't know? And if it's truly about children, right, then children are not germane to Baltimore City. You have children all over the state of Maryland. So why aren't they taking this fight to all of the other jurisdictions? And I really ask this because some of the folks in these advocacy groups do not live in Baltimore City, nor do they have students in Baltimore City public schools. And many of them who are behind the scenes don't look like me and my son, who is currently a middle school student in Baltimore City public schools. Also, while they're also making, all of this noise and in a lot of ways espousing these statistics that are refutable, and that's a whole nother story. But the CEO of Baltimore City Public Schools, every time she goes in and out of school, she has 2 armed officers with her. And I've asked this question, and I've even asked it of her. Why does my middle school son deserve less protection when he's in a school building than the CEO does when she's in any building in Baltimore City Public Schools? Why does my son deserve less protection? Why does my son deserve less protection than middle school students in the other 23 jurisdictions in the state of Maryland? So this happened to be, and let me correct one thing, being a retired school police officer. Up until 2015, Baltimore City school police officers carried their guns for 15 years from the beginning to the end of their shift.
But that was done
illegally.
This whole thing, no, it wasn't illegal because I'm going to tell you what happened. It was not illegal.
Well, then why don't you continue?
After 9/11, because you got to know the whole history. After 9/11, there was an executive order that all police officers in all jurisdictions will be armed. And that's when school police officers armed up. And at that point, that was never reversed. What happened was school police brought light to the situation by going to Annapolis to close a 4-hour gap, which Sergeant Boatwright already spoke to. A 4-hour gap in the day. That's what you're talking about. By 10 o'clock, the weapons have to be put away. By 2 o'clock, the weapons can be retrieved to start the first round of dismissals. We were trying to close a 4-hour gap, all right? So there were some folks who had a bill in at the time that wanted more mental health practitioners in the school system. Now, what Sergeant Boatwright is not telling you, because he still works for the school system, I do not. There were some people from that group that said, our bill is not getting a lot of traction. Yours is, so we're going to attack your bill to bring attention to our bill. That was actually spoken to us by 2 people. That was spoken to us by 2. So that's how all this got launched, with all the protests and all this other stuff. And when we talk about the students from the Algebra Project, which one of my former students that I helped mentor, which I saw show up one night, who's already graduated, was at BCCC, and I asked him what he was doing there. And when he gave me the background and we had the conversation, he departed from the group. A lot of those kids are being put up to do the things that they do, and that's a whole nother story. But the bottom line is, if they really care about kids, why aren't they taking this show on the road and forcing the other 23 jurisdictions to do the same thing, which have officers in the school during the entire school day? And like you already talked about, Jason, down in Great Mill, that officer ended that confrontation a lot sooner than he would have been able to had he been unarmed. Period and point blank. All the information bears out. So, and as much as you would not send any other occupation in to do their job without all the necessary tools, as Delegate Glenn stated, and I appreciate her for putting the bill forward, but as part of the political process, she made the decision that she had to make. And he says, Joseph Kane.
Yes, sir.
If a person really, really listens to you very attentively, you talk out of both sides of your mouth, sir. So the thing is this.
Listen.
The thing is this. You talk out of both sides of your mouth, and really, you're not that politically astute. I know a little.
How long are we gonna let this guy go on? I mean, he's filibustered at this point.
Listen, Don. I really thank you for the, in the panel here.
I'm glad the show is recorded so that Jason can go back and hear himself say that there are school police officers that are dumbasses and not the spin that he put on it the second time he said it.
That wasn't Jason that said that. That was Mark.
And that's not what I said. Please play it back,
you guys take the
McLaurin.
show, because that gives you an opportunity to correct your statement the next time you guys are on, because that is what you said.
That's not what I said. And
we appreciate the call.
I know what I said better than you know what I said.
Hassan, Mark, Ivan, Jason, like this is one of the good things that I love and why I'm running, right? Because if you are passionate about an issue, you have every right to organize around that issue, and that's why we're running for city council, because people in our district are tired of the way Baltimore is going, and so we're organizing people around every issue. And so if you're for HB 31 or whatever it is in the future, feel free to meet us at. I've been to all the meetings. And I've never met Don before, and I would love to talk to you one-on-one in my Hassan, my Kahan voice, But I would love to talk to you about this issue. And I'm from Baltimore. I'm born and raised in East Baltimore. Went to Northern High School. I mean, I don't have to check. You can't check my credentials. My uncle was shot in the head right here on Barkley and 20th. So I'm Baltimore City. So when you talk about people like us and other people motivating things, the only thing that drives me is my sense of urgency for my 4 children and the rest of the children of Baltimore City, and how we make Baltimore a better place for everybody.
But I think when he was talking about outside, and I'm not
the other 23
I'm not
counties.
Defending.
I think he's talking about the other 23 counties.
No,
which
they're not under consent decree.
No, but I'm talking about. He was talking about outside interests driving some of these urban groups and other interests. You saw it at the meeting. You had certain people that don't look like us. They get up there and they talk about, the crime is so bad and all these little black children are getting hurt and we got all these people black. You don't need to talk for me. I can talk for myself. I don't need somebody from the outside. And let's be honest, and I know the brothers from LBS get beat up for this a lot, but they talk about the philanthropic community that's a plantation, because you got a lot of people who are being funded to do the work to feed our children that don't look like us, and that is a big issue.
Doing this work in education advocacy in Baltimore City, so we got started because we went to Waverly and we saw that there were windows busted at our school, and that the people in the PTO was talking about doing a bake sale. So it was like, listen, y'all got y'all priorities wrong here. So that's why we got involved. And so doing this work and really understanding what school family councils are and understanding the power that parents and community really have under this community school model, this is why we got involved. I've been offered all kind of positions with all kind of groups in Baltimore City, and I am proud to say I ain't take $1 from nobody, because you don't have to pay me to do the work I need to do for my children. And so the work we do, the passion that fuels me, is nothing but Joseph Kane III, Ayanna Kane, Brayden Hamilton, Ezekiel, and Journey who lives in Seattle. You know what I'm saying? That's what motivates me and all of their friends and all the kids they come across in Baltimore City. So that whole
Angelique,
Angelique, and Angelique, No, that's what motivates me.
What's really disheartening, though, is why can't we all come and debate this issue on the merits? All of this, people that don't look like me are speaking about this issue is not helpful. You could say the same thing about
because this is
let me finish. This is how we get marginalized, and I'll say in defense of Clyde, this is how we get marginalized also as a political director for a labor union. When I'm coming in and speaking on behalf of my members or speaking, then I'm a special interest, and I really don't have any skin in the game. I don't have anything to say. This is what happened. These are folks. If there was nobody there but Joseph and Angelique, let's have the debate. Take all the rest of them, the nonprofits, the white folks, or whoever you're referring to. What's always forgotten is that many of the most active white folks involved in the coalition to stop this are parents themselves of city parents at schools. So let's not act like these white folks, came in from Cockeysville and Timonium. Okay?
No, there's some of them that do, though. Don't get it twisted. A lot of them don't live in the city. And I'm not talking about the ones that were testifying that night. I'm talking about overall. If you look, trust me, I've been in this a long time, especially not in the philanthropic and this activism you haven't. You have not been in activism on the ground.
Are you kidding me?
Are you kidding me? I didn't even know you till 2 years ago.
I started with Barbara Mikulski in 1997.
You were not in Baltimore.
I was the Baltimore City director for Barbara Mikulski in 1997.
I'm just going to go ahead. Faraji Muhammad, Heber Brown, any of us that came up under the youth movement and all that, if any of y'all know this nigga from back then, please put it up on here and let me know.
I was working for an elected official. I did not run in your circles.
I'm talking about activism on the ground on issues about this and about that.
So you get to define what activism is. Politics is activism.
like I said, if y'all know this nigga from back in 1997, 80, 2000, tell me, please. Okay. 2005.
Okay.
Well, all I'm saying is, this is a real issue. You can't sugarcoat it because you don't think that. If you've been on the ground and if you know this, you know that traditional groups like LBS and others who are historically black do not get the same funding that
that's a completely different issue. I agree with that. That's a completely different issue.
Lord have mercy.
But you're sidetracking the debate on this issue by questioning who the advocates are. That's where you started, Hassan. That's where you started. You started with, there's people and they don't look like you.
Yes,
and they're
on that hearing.
But that's very different.
When have you ever seen a black person going up and defending a white institution about their parents and stuff? They don't do it. You don't see black parents going to the school board meeting and saying, well, this is a big issue because 97% of the kids that are being shot are white. They don't do that. Why are you?
What you're saying. I understand. I don't know
because you don't understand the issue. And I'm not going to go back and forth with you on this.
No, I was being sincere. I didn't understand what you were saying. But okay.
We'll talk about it because we ain't got that much time left. But trust and believe, this is a very huge issue.
We got 15 minutes.
Well, it definitely is an issue that evokes a lot of passion from a lot of people. Right. But what I will say is this. Yes, it seems to me that Mark was fighting for the same things in one area. You were fighting for something in another area. And the beauty of it is that you two are really, seems to me, and Joseph was fighting for something other. You were the advocate. He was the advocate for his family, and Mark was the advocate for the elected official. But the beauty of it is all three of y'all brothers fighting for the same thing. That's right. And it's for the embetterment of black families in Baltimore City.
That's why I like this. He knows I've heard all that together.
Voice of reason.
Yeah, he definitely is.
Right. If you really sit down and listen to it, that's the beauty of it. And then I think when you listen to the last caller, Doug, what's his name? Don. Yeah. Don's retired, or he used to be a school police officer. So he remembers how it used to be, and he has a son. And so he's in the police, department, the school police. And for him, he knows, hey, I'm here to protect my son, and protecting his son, it means with a gun. You have to understand, in America, we do have a right to bear arms. Right. And so for him, he's feeling like, okay, this is what we were allowed to do. And I understand his point of view. His point of view is like, look, we're talking about 4 hours. 4 hours. And so for him, he's missing also, he's one parent, where to me, you're another parent. Both of you really want the same thing. Yes, that's right. It is the protection of our children. That's right. Our children. So, I thought, in just looking at the arguments from sitting back, I thought it was a very well argued fight. And I feel that when I listened to Clyde, Sergeant Boatwright, I read some of the things he wrote on Facebook. He congratulated you. I felt that him and the other members that he represented, that they handled the battle very professionally, that they really argued hard. But they're arguing from a standpoint that they want to protect your children. That's right. And for them, that's how they feel is the best way. Yep. At the end of the day, to me, everybody wants the same thing.
That's right.
They do. They just have different ways of getting there. But let me just say, we are constricting this 4 hours. Now we're down to 4 hours. I don't know any school that the time between kids coming in and kids leaving is only 4 hours. But okay, we'll go with that. I think they're taking the coming in of the high school versus the going out of the elementary school and saying, oh, it's only 4 hours. No, it's really 6.5 hours.
Well, yeah,
but in any case, the other point that's important to make, and this I do know about because I represent every single non-teacher in the Montgomery County public school system. You could make a fruit salad with the apples and oranges that he was comparing up on here. They're not the same thing. The Montgomery County does not have an armed school police force. They have school resource officers, and then they have Montgomery County police that come in and out. But there's not a separate police force with a Chief Ham and a Sergeant Boatwright. So you can't compare the two why is Baltimore City any different?
Isn't Baltimore City the only one with a
separate right. And to acknowledge, as we all know, that the relationship between students and police in Baltimore City is way different than it probably is in Howard County or Caroline County or Calvert County. There's a level of safety that I dare say my kids feel in Montgomery County with their police officers that Baltimore City students, by and large, oftentimes don't feel. We can argue about why, but it's like we have this. We're all in favor of this Baltimore City exceptionalism. There's nowhere like Baltimore City in the history of the universe, except on this issue. Baltimore has to be like the other 23. And even if they did give them what they wanted, it would not make Baltimore like the other 23. Right. Baltimore is already unique in that they're the only ones with a police force. So I appreciate the navel oranges and Macintosh apples that you brought here, but you can't compare the two.
Yeah. So I don't. And look, this is a wedge. This is certainly an issue that we need to bring to the conversation on our live broadcast on President's Day that we're going to be having at Union Baptist Church about policing in Baltimore overall and public safety. So this is definitely something that we want to bring to that because it's a huge issue. But I don't want to waste time on why we have you here, right? That's right. And so we want to talk about what are the issues that you are running on that you feel are your top 3 issues going forward as the next city council.
Yeah, I mean, I talked about like the overarching theme with like why I'm running. It's like how do we really center people in our politics in Baltimore City? As a council member, we're the closest people on the ground. Really here to really understand is your trash being picked up on time, or why is the water leaking on Rexmere and North Hill, and this wintertime is going to freeze up. So that's our job to really be boots on the ground and understand what's going on. But I want people to know me for this one issue of like how do we organize our communities effectively to take on issues that we traditionally don't have legislative control over. So when we talk about our schools, we talk about our police department. Everybody was in was really going in on the mayor about we want to include community voice in how we select the next police commissioner. Well, listen, as a council member of the 14th district, I don't have to wait for the mayor's office to schedule a town hall. Joseph Kane, as a council member, is going to organize a town hall, take that feedback, and deliver it to the mayor's desk. Like, this is what my constituents want in the next police commissioner. Right. And so we have to be on the grounds, organizing our communities, really talking about what the issues are and taking that feedback. The second thing is we have to work with our state partners. I mean, we should know what's happening. While they're down in Annapolis, I should be able to send an email to Delegate Regina T. Boyce and say, hey, I need you to bring back some money because we have this vacant building here that we can use for a community center, or hey, Delegate, hey, Senator Washington, this water bill issue, I see that they filed something today. We need we need this to go ahead and go forward, because people don't want to lose their home. They shouldn't have to lose their homes over water bills. So we need you to help us on this fight. And so we need to make sure that we have that relationship with our state partners. But I'm really proud of like, how do we address public safety? For me, the conversation about it has really been too narrow and put too much emphasis on policing. I think we really have to talk about like what it looks like to have a comprehensive strategy that's public health centered, but from the community up. And so I'm really proud. Like I would be the elite in this effort to really get micro community policing in Baltimore City, because that really take the time to go into each community and really respect the uniqueness of each community and help it pull out its greatest assets, find out things we need to get rid of, something we need to change, and pour resources into how we do that. Because we can't just move forward neglecting or pretending like we just underfunded schools for decades. We just let these kids chew on lead paint for years untreated. We have this growing opioid or heroin addiction in Baltimore City where 700 plus people are dying a year. And then we look at everybody and say, what's wrong with y'all kids? Why y'all acting like that? They just ate chips and juice for all this week in the chicken box. What's wrong with these kids? We have to start addressing the systemic issues that drive crime, that motivate people to really make desperate decisions, And so when we start addressing when we think of public safety as if a holistic approach and not necessarily policing, I think we're on the really turning Baltimore around. And so for me, I'm a champion. How do we bring micro community policing to Baltimore City the way communities can have say in how those communities are policed and what resources can come into those communities, and not people just saying, hey, this is what you need in your community.
You got Jason's vote. You sound like Jason Rodriguez up in
here.
Sound
a breath of fresh air to me.
You got some literature.
I brought that because listen, man, when we out here in these doors, brother. Listen, we gotta get creative on how we make sure people don't throw this in the trash. And who's gonna throw a picture of my son and my daughters and my wife in the trash? They're gonna put it in their refrigerator,
especially
right?
when it says season's greetings. Nobody throws away a Christmas card.
It's a Christmas card, Beautiful. So I mean, we have to get creative to how we really engage people. I mean, we're out knocking on doors. This weekend we'll pass our 1,000th door. We're still after we talk to people on the doors, we call them, we send them letters. Like we're making sure sure we talk to people, because at the end of the day, people feel alienated or disconnected from the political process in Baltimore. So we're really about restoring, really putting people back in the center of our politics here in our city.
I've got to get you that union book on there, though.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Listen.
Have that conversation. I'm going to let this one go. It's the first time. It's all right. You're good. But let's not do that again.
Listen. We already in touch with Bob Lord.
Yes.
You know, we're going to use them out there.
Yes.
You know,
I'm just messing with you.
I'm looking at some examples, like, for instance, Councilman Christopher Burnett and now Senator McCory McCray. Are you looking at trying to resolve some of the issues, or instead of just knocking on doors? Because that's some of the things that they did way before they got into office, was to actually try to resolve some of these issues within their communities.
Do casework on the door.
That's what we're doing. One of the things, I won't say who, but one of my senators told us, and not my senator, but another senator told me that you need to be prepared to get things done at the doors, Joe.
That's
so right
right
now we have a Rexamere in North Hill. I talked about the water leak. We talked about in the summer. Like, it was, the lady was concerned, like Christina was concerned, this is going to freeze up. Sure enough, guess what? It froze up. So now we're helping figure out what is we need to do. A survey needs to be done by DPW to find out where the source of water is coming from, and then we can start addressing why that is happening. You know, so we're on the doors taking feedback. If you go in my house, anybody feel free to come over. But I'll thank you to Angelique. But our dining room is a war room, so you have a chart right here of all the issues we come across and checks off when we finish them.
No, that's right.
I know the layout, so I can imagine it right now.
The whole living room, the whole dining room is taken over.
The war room.
Well, just tell me when Angelique cooks, and me
hey,
and Malika come over.
Listen. You better say when Joseph is cooking, you know, because I gotta balance this out, you know, taking over the living room and dining room.
Well, as long as somebody cooking, we there.
Yeah. You know, so I mean, that's why we're running. I mean, people are ready for something. They're ready to move forward. I mean, that's the end of the day. People are tired. People, they really feel beat down. Like, we've been going through a lot in the last few years in Baltimore, and people want to feel like, that's what, you know, you said I was positive. Like, that's me. Like, we have to make sure people don't lose hope. Yep. You know what I'm saying? We have to make sure people see there's a future in our city, you know, and so that's why I'm out here doing, just really showing that all hope is not lost. Together, we can move Baltimore and our district forward.
Wow. All right.
Yeah. And you can follow us. So that's on JoeKaneForBaltimore.com. Follow me on social media, Joe Kane. I'm sure my tag is under there. But and also let me say this too. Accountability. Challenge me like Don did today, like Officer Boatwright, Sergeant Boatwright does. Like, you know, he'll challenge you head on. But ever since this issue, we crack jokes into each other. You know, I told him, like I said, Kahan Dillon joke. We we have to be make sure that we
that
keep.
Man's gonna be a damn.
We have to make sure we keep our focus. It's not about us, but how we moving our city forward. You know, with this issue of HB 31, not about Joseph Kane and what he thinks. It's about how we help the students in our schools and our teachers and our principals and so forth, and make sure the people who are protecting them people have the resources they need to do it. So it's about how do we build the bigger tent after we finish the debate and a resolution has been made, and now how do we move forward to fight? Because I want to think about this. Me and Sergeant Boatwright and a whole bunch of coalition, that same coalition that were against each other, going forward to Annapolis, fighting for Kerwin.
Yes.
You know, think about how much money we can bring back with his resources, his connects, and our resources, our connects.
Yes.
That's a more powerful tent than what we have right now, you know?
Yes.
Okay.
That's a real campaign manager. Angelique even outside talking about count it done. She cooking, so we going. All right.
Kelly Fox says she's coming over.
Now that's a part.
When you cooking.
Yeah. You said Kelly Fox?
Yeah.
That's our brother up in the District 43, you know? And that's the thing about our community. Everybody we're hands-on. I tell... He said I talk out both sides of my mouth, but come to my community. They are some responsible, aware, and understand what's going on in politics, which is why we have one of the leading people. When you think about Baltimore City, you think about Mary Pat Clark. We've had Councilwoman Clark. So we know our politics. So you're not going to pull a fast one over the voters in the 43rd district.
It's the 43rd, baby, Northeast.
You know?
Number one district in Baltimore, baby.
That's right.
All right. Well, we appreciate you being here, Joe.
Yes,
it's
sir.
always a pleasure.
Listen, I thank y'all.
We want to keep this conversation going. Of course, y'all can always go back and find this on the Facebook page, on the YouTube, on Periscope. at DMV Daily News. You can always go to DMVDaily.news to be able to go back and listen to it. We always do. We'll go back and check it out. You can go back and check it out. Share it with your friends. Make sure they know about Joe Kane and why he's running in the 14th district here in the city of Baltimore. But as always, every week we'll be giving you different candidates, whether they're incumbents or challengers, bringing you the news and information that you need to hear from the candidates themselves on why they're running for political office. It's the end of the week, fellas. So next week, you don't know what we got in store for you because I don't think we know what we got. But it's going to be hot. You best believe that. So as always, have a great weekend. And remember, a new promise begins with a new day. Therefore, the promise of tomorrow is greater than that of yesterday.
Free Keith Davis.
Oh, you got me. Oh, you lucky. I thought
you were about to. I
you
looked
got
over
me
there.
distracted. I would have had you.